Hi, aloha, and welcome to the joint hearing with the Senate Committees Economic Development and Tourism, Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs and Commerce and Consumer Protection. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, and this is our 9:30 a.m. agenda, and we are in conference room 229. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. To the right of me is our illustrious chair from Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator Wakai, and to the left of me is our CPN chair, Mr. Jared Kilolole, and if you can pronounce his name correctly, you get an extra seconds on your testimony. And Senator Chang to the right of Vice Chair Chair Wakai, as well as Senator Fukunaga to the left of Jared Kilolole and Senator Lamasau. We have a 1-minute time limit for all our testifiers as we have various agendas to get through this afternoon. This agenda has only one bill, HB 1590 HD3, relating to vacation rentals. First up on our testifiers list, we have Hawaii Department of Taxation testifying on behalf of Hawaii Department of Taxation.
Good morning, Kristen Sakamoto, Deputy Director of Taxation. DOTAX provided comments on this bill. I just wanted to highlight that for Part 2, we proposed some amendments, which we believe will result in more efficient administration, increased compliance, and the collection of additional tax revenue. So we would request that you adopt the amendments and pass this bill out of committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Maya Van Drunen testifying for the Attorney General's Office on Zoom.
Not present on Zoom.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm with the Attorney General's office. Our office provided written testimony with comments and recommendations to address the definition of a hosting platform and the Internet Tax Freedom Act. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Director Tokioka on behalf of Department of Business Economic Development in support. Caroline Anderson, Interim President and CEO of Hawaii Tourism Authority with comments. Office of Hawaiian Affairs in support. Lindsay Garcia testifying for Hawaii Realtors.
Senator comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next up, Edward Jones testifying for Costro. Hello.
Should I sit?
Oh, please.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and members. I'm not sure if that's the exact reading, but thank you. I'm Ed Jones from Kama'aina Occupied Short-Term Rentals, Oahu, and commenting today. An illegal vacation rental prerequisite court finding requirement is a step in the right direction. I'd like to talk about Act 17 with just one sentence here. It wasn't successful, and it's really not successful until county ordinances actually enact, or that ordinances are actually enacted that are both constitutional and respect federal court orders. What the state needs to do to be helpful in this process is to clarify that owner-occupied is under the residential landlord-tenant code and not the zoning enabling act. Property rights really are not related.
So can you wrap up your testimony?
Yes, Chair. Are really not related to home rule. They are universal across the state. Mahalo for all of your hard work on this bill.
Thank you. Next up, testifying for High Mass Alliance on Zoom.
Aloha Chair and members of the committee. My name is Caitlin Miller and I'm testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Mid and Short-Term Rental Alliance, HHS for short. We appreciate the opportunity to provide comments on HB 1590 HD3 today and support the bill's efforts to modernize tax administration and clarifying hosting platform tax collection responsibilities. These provisions represent constructive steps forward that can improve compliance and administrative consistencies across the marketplace. As the committee considers implementation of Part 1 related to screenshot evidence, we would like to briefly share one practical example. Recently, a host living locally on Oahu received a notice of violation that included a screenshot showing only a small portion of her listing. The image did not reflect the full context of her rules, despite her operating lawfully and in good faith, and what she was required to engage in the violation process. This is particularly meaningful given that the county enforcement penalties can reach up to $10,000 per day. HIMAS understands the intent of the bill allowing screenshots as an enforcement tool. Our request is simply that screenshots function as part of an investigative process rather than a standalone determination. The amendment that we offered is in our written testimony, and we stand on that as well, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next up, testifying on behalf of Tax Foundation of Hawaii, Tom Yamachika on Zoom.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. Tom Yamachika for Tax Foundation. We have submitted written comments. We're generally in accord with part 2 of the bill. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Mackenzie Chase, testifying for Expedia Group, also on Zoom.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Mackenzie Chase here on behalf of Expedia Group. We stand on our written comments. Broadly, we are supportive of becoming tax responsible for short-term rentals in the state of Hawaii, and we greatly appreciate the amendments that were incorporated in the HD and HD2 versions of the bill, and we urge you to move that section of the legislation forward. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, Benjamin Sarowski for Unite Here Local 5 with comments. Janzo Kozen testifying for Airbnb, also with comments. Ross Isukane in support. Tonic Bill in opposition. Susan Alden also in opposition, as well as Nicholas Zur in opposition. Anybody else wishing to testify on the measure? Oh, cool.
Oh, please.
no, please.
I insist. I insist.
Oh, yeah, he insists, please.
And Margaret Oran
Allah.
from the East End, Hollywood. I wish to be auntie going to come talk to you. I've been at this for 7 years. And I've been trying to earn my right to earn a living. And so far it hasn't happened. Ed and I are trying to get a carve out for all of those people who live on their property. They're not going to sell.
So, in support or in opposition of the measure?
In support.
Okay, go ahead.
These are comments.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, we want a simple carve out for people that live on their property. They're not going to change the housing symbolic. For this, we keep coming to these hearings. And I've discovered a trend, because I take notes. I've discovered a trend, and it's not a happy one. You find 70% of the people are in favor of things short-term rental. 30% are opposed. Those are the hotel people. Okay, the 70% are your constituents. These are the people that voted you into office.
I'm gonna need you to wrap up your testimony.
Yes.
Please.
All right, but the vote is always for the 30%. So I'm just scratching my head.
Thank you.
And I urge you to support a carve out for us.
Thank you. Mahalo. Kiko? Or do you, anyway, Kiko, listen, then, please, sir. Oh, you good? Okay.
Chair DeCoy, Chair Kai, Chair Keoho Kalole. It takes an extra second to say his name, so it's really not fair to give us an extra second, Chair. The Hawaii Hotel Alliance and the American Hotel and Lodging Association did provide late testimony. My apologies for being a little late. The crux of our testimony relates to us having been here for 10 years working on this most critical issue. And if you recall, in 2016 and 2017, there were a number of measures that made their way through the legislature that would have deemed licensed any short-term rental listed on a hosting platform. And we want to be very cautious when we approach this. And our comments relate specifically to making sure that we do not allow taxation to be misconstrued as legitimacy. And, DOTAX, they're obviously supporting this because we want to collect any due tax. And DBED is obviously supporting this because they want legitimate providers of TAT to to be paying their fair share. And that is the theme of our testimony. I will say that you've seen the polls, and the polls are not as advertised. More than 70% of registered voters in the state of Hawaii oppose illegal short-term rentals. Happy to answer any questions on behalf of HHA and AHLA on this issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify on the measure?
Chair. Hi, Janelle Cousins from Irving. We just stand on our written notice.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify on the measure? Members, any questions? No questions? Okay, seeing none, short recess. We are back for decision making. In regards to HB 1590, Committee on Economic Development and Tourism relating to vacation rentals. We are going to be passing with an SD1 by incorporating the amendments recommended by Airbnb. They have indicated to me that they also had discussions with DOTAX and that their changes were not objectionable to them. Also incorporating the suggested amendments offered by the Hawaii Realtors to address their concerns, their real estate licenses, managing rental properties could be unintentionally included and required to become tax collection agents, and redefecting the effective date to July 1st, 3050. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair Wakai for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga?
Aye.
Senator Kim? Excuse, Senator Favela?
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
For members of EIG, same recommendation. Any discussion? If not, Senator Chang, I vote yes.
Chair's recommendation for HB 1590 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes yes. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Coit?
Aye.
Senator Richards? Is excused. Senator Favela?
Aye.
Recommendation is adopted.
CPN committee, same recommendation. Any discussion? If not, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes aye. Senator Lamasau? Aye. Senator McKelvey?
Yes.
Senator Awa is excused. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members, and with that, we are adjourned.
Good morning and welcome. This is our 9:40 a.m. Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 Joint Committee hearing agenda in Hawaii State Senate Capitol, in Hawaii Capitol Conference Room 229. This is a joint hearing between the Committees on Commerce and Consumer Protection and the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism to consider House Bill 2575, House Draft 1 relating to taxation. This measure applies the retail or higher general excise tax or use tax rate to purchases or imports of new motor vehicles by rental car companies. It also appropriates funds for a position in the Department of Taxation. As noted earlier, this meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. And in the unlikely event that we experience technical difficulties and need to abruptly end this hearing, we will try to reconvene again in this 90-minute hearing time slot before 11 a.m. since we are on a hearing deadline this week. For all the testifiers, the Consumer Protection Committee observes a 2-minute testimony time limit. For first-time testifiers, we observe a time limit because, again, this is a 90-minute hearing and we're on a deadline this week. So all of the subsequent measures on these agendas need to be voted out today. We have received written testimony from everyone who's registered and reviewed that written testimony. So while the time limit is yours to use, we respectfully request that you take your time if you elect to come and testify, to add to the written testimony you submitted and not read it verbatim. And if you'd like to stand on your testimony and acknowledge the fact that we've received it and reviewed it, then we'd appreciate that very much. First up, we have Gary Suganuma, Hawaii Department of Taxation, offering comments.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chairs. Committee members, Garrison Kurth, Department of Taxation, will stand on our written testimony providing comments.
Thank you very much. Hawaii State Teachers Association in support. Good morning.
Aloha, good morning. Sarah Milianta-Laffin on behalf of HSTA. Good morning, Chair and Vice Chairs. We're sitting at a time, obviously, we've seen the news, our neighbors are drowning in floodwaters. This is a time when we're going to need significant financial revenues to go ahead and handle what we've been going through. We also know at this time, thinking about from my paces education, the federal government's in a lot of flux with the Department of Education, and we're not sure where that money is coming from. So we need things to be able to regenerate revenue for the state. For myself, as a teacher, I've been teaching for 21 years. I'm one of your state's few computer science teachers, and I make $55,000 a year. So I know these big corporations that are worried about their taxes changing. These are billion-dollar entities. They have enough money to be able to handle that. We need to generate money for our state so that we can take care of our communities, so we can rebuild after this flooding, and so we can make sure that teachers are paid and our schools are the best for our kiki. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Josh Dover for Avis Budget Car Rental in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committees. Jolene Garridan Prieto on behalf of Avis Budget. We stand on our written testimony respectfully opposing HB 2575. Just wanted to highlight that Hawaii tax law and regulations have distinctly supported the framework for wholesale treatment at acquisition for rental car companies while preserving the retail GET on rental receipts. This has been confirmed by Hawaii case law and thus reinforcing the statutory basis. Additionally, the bill does not contemplate behavioral change as it would increase the costs per vehicle for rental car companies, which could then lead to the retention of vehicles for longer periods and thus shift older, higher mileage vehicles into the used car sales market. With affordability being a constant concern for many of us, this bill will have a negative impact on local residents and local businesses. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Servco Pacific in opposition. Good morning.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. My name is Daniel Cheng. I'm the head of tax at Servco Pacific Inc., and I appreciate this opportunity to provide testimony in opposition to HB 2575. The state's longstanding tax policy, established over several decades, has been designed to allow the wholesale GET of 0.5% to apply in situations where the sale of property is followed by a resale, lease, or rental of that same property in a subsequent leasing or retail transaction. This is to avoid having retail GET applied twice. So yes, it's true that vehicles sold to rental car agencies are subject to GET at 0.5%, but taxation doesn't end there. GET at the retail rate of 4.5% applies on the rentals of the vehicles over the fleet lives, and on top of that, each vehicle rented out is subject to surcharge tax of $7.50 per day, and this has been going up over the last several years. It goes up again to $8 per day starting next year. The state collects another round of GET when a rental car agency sells that vehicle to a local dealership, which then sells it to a local customer. Servco does buy a number of used vehicles from rental car agencies at the end of their fleet lives, so we see this firsthand. So there's been reports in the media that there's this tax loophole that the rental car agencies have long been enjoying, but that's simply not true. Our state is already collecting a healthy amount of taxes on the rental car industry, and it's in the thousands of dollars over the life cycle of each vehicle. So, what this bill is proposing to do is break our longstanding tax policy for a single industry. And, we wouldn't want this to happen to other industries. For example, food. If food distributors are selling to local restaurants and they get the 0.5%, is that a tax loophole? I don't think so, because we know that the restaurant is going to pay 4.5% retail GET on the sale of food to dining customers. So increasing tax on the rental car industry is only going to increase rental prices during a time when local residents and tourists alike are already price sensitive. We shouldn't let this happen, and let's not break our state's longstanding tax policy today.
Thank you very much. Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii in opposition.
Hello, chairs, vice chairs. My name is Gabo on behalf of
Thank you for standing on your testimony. Chris Caulfield, Hawaii Democratic Party Education Caucus in support. Good morning.
Hello, I'm Chris Caulfield, speaking to you as the chairperson of the Education Caucus. Thank you so much for hearing this measure. We see this as measure that's about fairness and values. And as you heard already, this is a time when we need money. We are seeing dramatic federal cuts, including to education, that are hampering our education system. The storms have just ravaged the North Shore on Maui and a number of other communities. So we need to generate revenue, and this is an innovative way to do it that doesn't impact working families, imposes the financial burden largely on the visitor industry, which is something that the legislature has looked at in recent years. Again, rental car companies operate large fleets, and under current tax treatment, they have been able to pay the lower wholesale rate on fleet purchases, while people who are renting their cars are paying the retail rate. Residents who rent their cars are paying the retail rate. And so we see this as an imbalance that the bill corrects, and largely shifts some of the financial burden for taking care of some of the shortfalls that we're facing onto the visitor industry, so that they're contributing their fair share to public services. And just want to note from an education funding perspective that the state allocates 15.1% of its state and local expenditures to K-12 education, according to a report that came out from UH. That's well below the national average. We actually spend the lowest amount of combined state and tax revenue on education of any state in the country. So we need innovative revenue mechanisms to take care of our education, to take care of our students, to take care of supportive programs, make sure that we have quality teachers in our classrooms. And we hope that you will move this forward, because public education is one of the best investments we can make for the future of our state. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Grassroots Institute of Hawaii in opposition. Independent Car Rental and P2P Association, Trent Gifford in opposition online. Good morning.
And committee chairs. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Trent Gifford. I'm the CEO of the largest independent car rental and peer-to-peer car sharing association. The reason why I'm testifying today is because we're hearing a lot about big car rental. The reason why I'm here is to talk about the hundreds of residents of Hawaii who offer their vehicles either through private car rental or peer-to-peer car sharing that are affected by this bill. We oppose this bill because it's going to put an unbalance in the competitive marketplace. I stand on my written testimony, and I just offer myself for any questions you might have in that regard.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committees. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. As set forth in our written testimony, we don't think car rental companies are fundamentally different from other equipment lessors that are taking advantage of Section 237-489. That statute was put in 1971, and we think creates settled expectations among people in the industry. If you really want to have additional taxes come in from car rental companies, there's a vehicle for that, pun intended. Go to the RV surcharge tax, chapter 251. They're right there. We would rather not muck up the GE tax with creating exceptions for long-held wholesale rate categories. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Enterprise Mobility in opposition.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Yeah, they're in the room. Thank you, Kat. Good morning.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Jason Oka. I'm the group commute manager for Enterprise Mobility. Enterprise Mobility stands on our written statement, but I'm on here testifying on behalf on Opposition Bill 2575, and just kind of talking about our different mobility lines and how we help out local residents. Not only does Enterprise rent out to the tourism industry, but we also rent out to local residents. We have numerous of local branches across the state. And it was, as we all know, being from over here, we got friends and family that live on different islands and stuff like that. And, we've got to come in for doctor's appointments, sporting events, work. As far as the Commute with Vanpool division, we support thousands of local residents with challenging commutes to get to and from work. We have van pools across the state. We support industries in the farming and agriculture, construction business, government, tourism, and even some nonprofits like Goodwill. So I kindly ask you guys to defer Bill 2575 and help support our local residents here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Hertz Corporation in opposition. Online. Good
Hello,
morning.
Chair, Vice Chair, committee members, Steve Rakahi with Hertz Dollar Thrifty Rent-A-Car. We are here respectfully opposing House Bill 2575. And to my counterpart's point on local residents and supporting the local residents' travel, we do have a lot of local residents traveling from the outer islands into Honolulu for business, medical purposes, XYZ, right? And I think this really can potentially unintentionally affect that with the pass-through. So we again, respectfully oppose 2575. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Karen Polk, Kapolei Chamber of Commerce in opposition online. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chairs, members of the committee. Karen Polk, Executive Director and CEO of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce, and we respectfully oppose this measure. And I'd like to highlight today the impact on our small and medium business here in our state. You know, businesses are already facing high operating costs, workforce shortages, and inflationary pressures. And this measure just adds another cost burden that many can't absorb. Rental vehicles are essential business tools. They're not a luxury. They're used for project-based work, visiting partners, and supplemental fleet needs, and neighbor island travel. And higher fleet acquisition costs lead to higher rental rates, and these costs are passed directly down to our local and small businesses. So all that being said, I would just like to respectfully ask that the committees defer this measure. So much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Shelby Davis in opposition. John Fitzpatrick in support online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
That's all the registered testimony we have from individuals who indicated they would be present. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure? HB 2575. Good morning.
Good morning and aloha. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Chairs, and committee members. My name is Dave Erdman. I am the interim president and CEO of Retail Merchants of Hawaii. Our Retail Merchants of Hawaii opposes HB 2575 HD1. Well, this is not a core retail issue. The measure has real impacts on local business and our retailers. Rental cars are essential for inter-island operations across retail and our broader business community. Increasing these costs adds pressure to already high cost of business in the business environment and impacts both our employees and the employers. We respectfully urge to defer this measure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Anybody outside? Knock twice.
Aloha, this is Pamela with the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to testify in opposition and stand on our written testimony.
Hello, Pamela.
Aloha.
I think we have you.
I think you have
You
me
submitted
covered.
a testimony, right?
We'll stand on our written testimony on this issue, and I'll be back on the Young Brothers.
Okay, thank you.
Mahalo.
Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Okay, members, questions? Senator McKelvey?
HSTA. Looking through the bill, I didn't see any direct allocation at all for education or DHH or anything. It just goes right into the general fund. So how can those supporting it for that reason be assured of such a thing when it's not in the bill?
Well, additional revenue, obviously it helps, the Department of Education, our teachers, it's all funded by the general fund. So this money would go to the general fund and still potentially help education and other services.
We've increased this before. Proponents has come forward saying we need education, yet we still are being told that we're not funding education enough.
Yeah.
So I guess, it seems to be we pass tax bills all over the place for the general fund for education, but then it is put back on us that we're not funding education enough. So how are we not going to end back up at the same place with this measure, even though it's generating revenue?
Senator, I think teachers like me, the way we look at it is these are billion-dollar corporations, they're fine. And teachers like me are hurting, our schools are hurting. And we want to do whatever we can to support that mission. The corporations will be okay.
It's not about
Teachers
that,
are not.
okay? I'm not here to argue. I'm no fan of corporations. Look at my track record, okay? So I'm not going to get into that argument with you. Because what we're trying to talk about is simply a question of representations that this will go to education. I believe previous versions of the bill did send the funding, but this one doesn't, right? So there's not 100% guaranteed it's going to help us in that respect.
And you're right, and we're just looking at, we do know there's going to be a shortfall and there's a deficit with our state funding, and so we're just looking at other ways of revenue that'll mostly impact the visitor industry and not local families. And so this is one of the creative ways to look at it. And so we're just trying to figure out ways to raise revenue for the state.
If revenue is the object, why don't we just basically do it across all businesses that pay this kind of tax? Because wouldn't that generate, wouldn't that generate way more revenue?
It absolutely would. We
So
agree
then
with
this
you.
bill should be expanded then, right? So that it includes all activity that's basically at this wholesale rate, potentially would be charged at the EDT rate.
We would be open, we'd have to look into that, but yeah, that would be something to look at.
Certainly.
Definitely.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Senator Wakai.
Oh, so you can stay there.
Yes. Hi, Senator.
I want to follow up on Senator McKelvey's line of question, because I'm just curious as to HSTA's support for this measure. I mean, I love education, support teachers.
Absolutely.
But if we were to say that all of the proceeds from these newfound dollars were to go to, let's say, Kupuna Care, would you guys still be supporting this bill?
We do support revenue generation generally for the state. We look at many different ways to support revenue generation.
And teachers care, our schools are our communities, our families, it's all, we're all in this together. And I think anything that supports the public like that would be important.
So any tax increase you guys would support?
I mean, we'd have to take a look at it. I'm not sure about every tax increase, but we'd have to take a look at it.
Okay, because I know earlier the bill earmarked monies to go to education.
And it did, yeah.
How did you guys get involved in this bill?
We spent the off session, so one of the issues is that teachers are still looking at trying to address the temporary hazard pay situation. There's a lot of different workers that did get temporary hazard pay, but teachers still haven't received it yet. So we were told last year that money was tight, and so you need to look at ways to be able to raise revenue for the state to be able to fund teacher hazard pay. So during the off session, we got together with various stakeholders, talked to them, and we figured out ways that we could look at trying to address revenue generation that could fund the temporary teacher hazard pay. So we looked at this approach. We saw that it was mainly a tax on the visitor industry, not impacting local residents. We saw that it could raise potentially $70 to $90 million annually for the state. So we decided to go in that direction to be able to fund hazard pay, split it up in 4 different installments and be able to get maybe the $10,000 or $20,000 to teachers for hazard pay. So that's the reason why we got into that direction and that approach, simply because we were told to come to the session with revenue and look at that way to be able to provide hazard pay. So we did, and that's the reason why we came into this year.
Teachers do our homework, yeah.
I know this is a Turo-initiated bill. Who approached you? Did you approach Turo or did Turo?
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I think we can stick to questions about the substance of the bill rather than getting into speculative questions.
It's not speculation, you can tell us, right?
No,
How'd you get involved in
we
this
talked to
bill?
each other, we talked to other stakeholders, we were looking at different ways. We were told specifically last year that your hazard pay bill costs money, which it does, we acknowledge that, and that you need to come in with ways to generate revenue for the state. So we went around and did that during the off session like we were told to do. And we talked to different people, and we saw this as an approach that brought in anywhere between $70 to $90 million.
Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
who approached who? You approached Turo or Turo approached you?
Yeah, so the Senate rules talk about, questions around the motive behind testifiers, and I'm gonna ask that we keep the questions directed at the substance of the bill.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
So,
Yes. Hi, Chair.
Anyway, sorry. So anyway, just want to follow up. So, you folks talk about hazard pay.
Yes.
So should we include, I think UPW also is looking for hazard pay. You guys have a problem with us including the other unions that are also seeking hazard pay as well?
Not at all. We in fact, last year's bill that we introduced and drafted included the other bargaining units that did not have hazard pay as well. That was part of our approach. We wanted to be able to bring in solidarity for everyone. So that if you take a look, I forget the bill number, but it was introduced by Senator Henry Aquino at the time on the Senate side, include all 3 bargaining units that didn't have it. I know UPW has already negotiated it and has it through it. It's just a matter of getting it through the Department of Education, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on in terms of their negotiations with the DOE, but they've negotiated already. Whereas with HSTA, we're still in the process of trying to go into that direction. And so we were told by the state to come up with funding mechanisms at the legislature, but we're also open to any ways that help our fellow public sector workers across the state. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I think we all agree that education is a priority for all of us. And, you know, when it comes to being fair, I think, you know, fair across the board, everybody from DHHL is also looking to get housing and so forth.
Absolutely.
You know, I would think that at this point, we would include just about everybody who's looking for an increase.
And we definitely think DHHL should be part of it. And if you take a look at the testimony that we did on SB 2784, which was heard by this committee earlier on, we actually asked to keep DHHL included for the beneficiary list and use temporary hazard pay for teachers. Our fund will be done in about 3 or 4 years, and after which point it sunsets and doesn't go to teachers anymore. And it could go in perpetuity to DHHL or in perpetuity to the general fund or to other people who need it. And so we look at it just temporarily for teachers. After 3 years, maybe 4 years, but probably 3 years, it sunsets for us. And then it can help with the beneficiary list or any other people who need the additional revenue.
Okay, so in regards to the corporations, you realize a corporation can be an individual as well, right?
It can be.
Okay, so you suggest that corporations are all, they can afford to do this?
No, but the majority.
No,
of
that's
them-
what she said.
Oh.
I'm asking you.
Excuse me.
You said that all corporations can. There are corporations that are individually owned as S corporations are. So you're under the assumption that we whack all corporations because they can't afford this?
No, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, members? Okay, if
Oh,
there are.
wait, I get one for DOTAX. Sorry.
Thank
I
you.
would think-
I mean, Tax Foundation.
Who told you to do, you said you were told to do this, you were told, who told you specifically?
No, we were told specifically during the session, last session, that there was difficulty to fund hazard pay, which it did cost money, so they were talking, different senators, different House
And committees
members. And we were just told that, you know, we're gonna have a hard time moving this one because it's coming directly from the general fund, and to be able to try to come up with revenue generation mechanisms. So that's what we did. Yeah, but it was from various people. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense now, but given that background, okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you.
DOTAX?
No, sorry, Tax Foundation.
Oh,
Sorry,
Tom.
Ta- yeah, when
Tom, are you online?
Tom, you online?
He's not on Zoom anymore, chairs.
Find him. No. Tom, Bill is waiting on you in your testimony here. Okay.
Any other
Yes, I
questions?
know.
Can tax maybe answer the question?
Tax
Tax Foundation?
because it's not there, unless you have a question for them, but
Do you have a
this
question?
is in regards to Tax Foundation's testimony.
Okay, sorry, Chair. No, I was just, Tax Foundation, their testimony suggested another route of
Yeah.
taxation. That's why I wanted to ask you, since he's not here, what you thought about that suggestion.
Well, I'd have to look at that too, but I mean, it certainly makes sense. If you're going to do something in taxing the rental cars, so to put a fee under that chapter, 251, I mean, it kind of makes more sense.
Yeah,
It would be probably simpler.
Would the revenue, I guess, gain be about the same? You know, but
I mean, it depends on what a fee would be charged.
got it. But you could theoretically create a fee structure that would capture.
Maybe the gentleman from Servco, since you testified to it. The comment that the Tax Foundation made was about the rental vehicle surcharge.
Yeah.
And so, can you take a question? Sure. Okay, come on. If you're in the room, you you avail yourself of questions. So you guys too, sorry, I know it's your first time, but. Yeah.
There's so many issues with this thing. No, just the suggestion was made, I thought it was by Tax Foundation.
It was.
To make to
251.
use an alternate tax structure to raise revenue, and just wanted to get the thoughts about that idea.
Yeah, so the bill as currently drafted kind of breaks the longstanding tax system that we have, wholesale and retail. There's a series of transactions, so yes, that is another mechanism, but keep in mind it's been going up. Every year for the last several years, it's gonna go up again next year. So I just wanted to, make sure that the members here of the committees understood the price pressure that's already on that industry.
Price pressure on everything right now.
Yeah.
$180
exactly. So,
barrel of oil is kind of.
Yeah, in addition to the retail GT, it's that surcharge tax, facility charges, all sorts of things that are burdening the rental car industry. So yes, that's a mechanism, but I just wanted to provide a little.
And Turo doesn't pay the rental car facility surcharge, do they?
That I'm not sure, I can't speak.
All right, I'm done, thanks.
If I may, just for the edification of the committee, I think the question was related to the tax foundation's testimony, which was that I think, I don't want to speak for Tom, but what I believe I understood from his testimony was similar to yours, which is that you have this retail wholesale rate dynamic that exists right now in recognition that goods brought in for wholesale are used in the provision of services and generate revenue and thus justifies the tax treatment versus the fee, which is essentially an extraction of the industry to be utilized for specific purposes as designated by the legislature.
That's my understanding of the surcharge tax.
Okay.
That's how that's supposed to work.
So can you help us understand why we would consider, if we elect to levy a charge on the industry for whatever reason, why the surcharge versus the amendments to the tax treatment retail wholesale?
Yeah, because the retail wholesale concept it's a longstanding tax policy. It's been in place for several decades. Do we want to start here targeting one?
But is there an
industry?
underlying policy consideration to make besides, oh, this is the way we've always done it?
Not necessarily, but are we going to expand it to other industries? I mean, it sort of opens up the doors. Like, hey, what do we go after next? My example on food distributors selling to restaurants, that gets the wholesale treatment, and then the restaurant selling to end customers, retail GET is paid on that final dining bill. Is that a tax loophole? Do we want to?
But you don't depreciate food.
Yeah, you can't depreciate food.
Yeah, but depreciation is separate. That's an income tax concept, not a general excise tax concept.
Well, I mean,
So it doesn't
but we had the American Rental Car Industry Association in this committee on the Senate bill saying, if you want to understand how billionaires become billionaires, then look at how you utilize tax frameworks like this and offset depreciation on your income liability so that you pay zero taxes.
Right, that's, I mean.
And that the rental car
that's their
industry is
point of view.
essentially a tax flow operation,
Right.
a tax strategy dynamic.
Right, depreciation is an income tax concept. Right now, we're focusing on this general excise tax concept. Depreciation doesn't reduce general excise taxes. There's no offset.
Fair enough. Okay, any other?
So just sort of follow up on that. I guess billionaires never become billionaires overnight without the investment and the idea of there could be a loss on that
That's
investment.
right, there is risk that they take.
So in the industry itself, explain to me what, on the wholesale side of it, prior to this, what would it look like on whether it be an increase or a decline? What would be the revenue loss in taxes to the state if this bill was to pass?
That I don't have a number exactly what the revenue loss would be, but I'd imagine that it would put pressure on rental car customers. There's going to be some price sensitivity, and so I don't know what the net.
Would any rental car here be? How about? Can you guys get an idea of what the losses the state would lose? Because we're talking about trying to help education and everything else. I realize on the import tax, if you decide to slow imports of vehicles down, that I stand to lose a lot of money for my general fund.
Yeah, and so my name is Scott Halber. I'm the controller with Enterprise Mobility, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Thank you today. That's a great point. A lot of people have been talking about this being a revenue generating measure. The truth and the data shows that it may not generate revenue. And a lot of that is tied directly to purchasing fleet, cycling fleet, selling fleet, and what that does to us. This measure is going to make it more expensive to buy cars. And it is going to de-incentivize the industry from wanting to purchase cars frequently. The current structure today is set up transactionally. The more we buy cars, the more we pay the 0.5%. Transactions are good, you generate more revenue. If car buying were to stop tomorrow or shrink considerably due to this measure, that's going to affect downstream revenues, not only in the 0.5% today, but in the size of the fleets, all these other buckets of revenue that we generate as an industry. And not only that, when we turn to sell the cars to the dealership. So when you look at this, even just on simple math, taking a 12-month cycle of a car, which was used in earlier testimony, I believe that's where they came up with the initial 80 million number they were supporting. If we're selling cars on a 12-month cycle today under the current structure, we'll generate 84% more GET than if we move to a 3-year cycle under the new proposed structure.
that's going to create a $162 million deficit to the state's GET fund. And so that's just the numbers working out. And that's because buying 3 cars at the current rate and selling them 3 times to local dealerships such as Surfco, who can then resell and get a 4.5%, there's a lot of money in other buckets, not just from the industry. And I think it's very important to note that there's nothing industry-wide that requires purchasing vehicles. And so if this tax were to pass, there's a lot of data behind the fact that it's going to create an immediate bubble in the revenue being generated. So if the industry weren't to purchase vehicles for a year, 2 years, or 3 years, or wait and prolong fleet, there's no money coming in on purchasing vehicles now.
So give me one kind of clean, say I purchase 100 vehicles under the rent-a-car, and what would you guys cut back? Like go half? You guys would say, okay, I'm gonna do 50. Tell me what my losses would be, or how much would I lose coming back to the state?
Yeah,
If you just give me a clean number.
A clean number, just on the 12 and 36, if we were currently cycling everything at 12 months under the current system, moving to a 36-month cycle on the proposed structure, you lose 84% of that revenue. So we're going to lose $162 million over that 3-year period as far as GET throughout each cycle, including the sale to the final consumer from the dealerships locally.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions, members? If not, short recess. Okay, reconvening on this 9:40 a.m. agenda for decision-making on House Bill 2575, House Draft 1 relating to taxation. I'd like to thank the testifiers and the members for the robust conversation on this. Without objection, given the opposition notes. Oh, I forgot to mention in the testimony in total, aside from the individuals who testified today, there were 56 individuals and organizations who testified in support and 76 in opposition. Noting the discussion and the testimony, yeah, that's after we take into account the live testifiers. Yeah, after we minus the live testifiers. Everybody holding me accountable here on this, on the YouTube feed, as you guys can see. So without objection, the recommendation is going to be that we defer this measure and continue the conversation into the interim, noting that the teachers and our education system still do need more support than they're getting now. So that's the recommendation for CPN.
On behalf of Economic Development and Tourism, I think this is a conversation that we gotta sit down and talk more about. I do not like losing revenue to the state, especially since we wanna support teachers. We wanna make sure that the teachers are given the necessary resources that they need to continue to teach and educate our appeal moving forward. I think we need to go back to the drawing board and figure out something that's comparable for everybody, and to make sure that the benefits there exist. With that being said, same here, Economic Development Tourism, we are gonna defer this bill as well. Mahalo.
Thank you, we're adjourned. Good morning and welcome. This is our Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, 9:50 a.m. joint committee hearing agenda between the Hawaii State Senate Committees on Commerce and Consumer Protection and the Committee on Transportation. We're in Capitol Room 229 to hear House Bill 2386, House Draft 2 relating to water carriers. This measure authorizes the Public Utilities Commission to establish automatic adjustment mechanisms to address economic factors sua sponte or on application by a water carrier. First up, we have Michelangelo, DCCA Division of Consumer Advocacy with comments. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michelangelo, the Executive Director of Division of Consumer Advocacy. We stand on our testimony providing comments available for questions.
Thank you very much for standing on your testimony. Johnny Tamora, PUC with comments.
Chair, Vice Chairs, members of the committee, here on behalf of John Tamura of the Public this mission. Stand on our testimony here for any questions the community may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Young Brothers in support. Mr. Veltri, good morning.
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 Aloha, my name is David Veltri, Associate General Counsel for Young Brothers, where I work on regulatory and legal matters. YB strongly supports this measure, including the implementation of interim inflation rate adjustments, or WICI, which was the Hawaii Water Carrier Working Group's top recommendation, and it would begin the long overdue process of modernizing local water carrier rate regulation. To explain, inter-island water carriers like Young Brothers play a vital role in our supply chain, so they're regulated like a traditional public utility, where any general rate change requires a time-consuming, expensive, and often contentious regulatory process known as a rate case. While this process was meant to protect consumers, the practical effect have been long periods of stagnant rates while the cost of providing service continue to rise. Financial pressure builds and larger disruptive rate increases are required to catch up after years of delay. This cycle of financial instability has real consequences. Capital becomes more expensive and harder to access. Costly short-term cash management strategies like deferred maintenance and vendor payments become necessary. And rate cases have to be pursued on an expedited basis, making them more contentious and more expensive. These costs are passed on to the customers that we serve. So WICI is a common sense solution to address these challenges. It does not replace or reduce regulation. It doesn't mean YB can stop working to make operational improvements on its own, and we are working on those. The WICI mechanism includes clear guardrails. The working group designed it that way. Scheduled, predictable annual adjustments that are capped at 5%. They're tied to an existing state mechanism for maritime fee changes, and they're paired with mandatory full rate reviews and resets every third year. For example, if you go on the Wharfage website today that the State Department of Transportation publishes, you will be able to see that on July 1st, 2026, wharfage rates will increase by 3.9%. So in short, annual WICI adjustments help keep rates aligned with real world costs. They support sustainable operations for our customers and for ourselves, and they keep our local supply chain strong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I skipped the Hawaii Department of Transportation online. Good morning.
Aloha. Thank you, chairs. I'm Dre Kalili, Deputy Director of Transportation for Harbors. We stand on our written testimony and strong support and available to answer any questions, especially those pertaining to our automatic wharfage increases on an annual basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ashley Kishimoto for Young Brothers in support. Ted Kafalis for the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii in opposition. Lauren Zerbel, Hawaii Food Industry Association in opposition online. Good morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify. My name is Lauren Zorbel. I'm president of Hawaii Food Industry Association, representing over 200 companies across the food and beverage supply chain, including retailers, distributors, manufacturers, and producers statewide. HFI stands in strong opposition to this measure. Inter-island shipping is not a luxury in Hawaii. It's the backbone of our food distribution system. Every cost increase moves directly through the supply chain and shows up in the price of food for families across our state. While we recognize that changes are needed in the water carrier system and we understand that rate increases may sometimes be necessary to maintain service, we believe this bill moves us in the wrong direction. The Public Utilities Commission, the entity charged with regulating this industry, has already reviewed this exact concept in Young Brothers' recent rate case and explicitly rejected the automatic inflation-based pricing mechanism. They warned that the increasing rates may offset inefficiencies and mask operational shortcomings to the detriment of consumers. At the same time, the PUC approved a 25.75% rate increase based on detailed financial review, and did so with the clear expectation of a 2-year pause on additional increases to provide stability. They also required enhanced independent oversight and monitoring of the company. In other words, the PUC identified concerns, allowed a justified increase, and put guardrails in place. This bill overrides that balanced approach and mandates automatic increases anyway. It replaces a case-by-case regulatory oversight with a system that guarantees rising costs without requiring improved service, efficiency, or accountability. And importantly, the task force that developed this legislation did not include a single ratepayer. For this policy that directly increases the cost of living, it's really important to include ratepayers when you're discussing what the options are. We have received an 81% increase cumulatively since 2018. By any mechanism, this is much faster increases in mainline shipping, which
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Lauren. Pamela Tumpap for Maui Chamber of Commerce in opposition online. She was here. Hello.
Thank you. Aloha. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We are here because we feel this bill should be deferred. And this bill impacts, of course, all of our residents statewide. It has not been widely published, and many are still unaware of it. Further, we're finding that people believe that fuel is part of this, and it is not. And we hear now that, you know, we already have a food insecurity issue. We're hearing that there may be a challenge to food subsidies through YB, and we feel that that's highly inappropriate, especially at this time. With awareness, our coalition is educating businesses statewide, which represent thousands of employees. Our survey is already identifying key challenges. For example, 75% are saying that this increase, coming off of a big increase last year, would be a huge, significant or major impact on their business. Okay, so 75% are in that combined category. Many have noted in terms of claims that it's not even worth making a claim. In the event they make a claim, it takes a lot of time, so there's no point in doing it. And one person said, no point in filing claims because they're always declined. These were things that we discussed with YB at a meeting held with legislators a couple of weeks ago. Many are saying, in terms of whether they would support a YB rate structure increase, as noted in these bills, 85.71% said no. 14.29% said they're unsure and need more information. So in terms of this, we have huge impacts and huge issues, and I could go on, but I don't have time for that. The Public Utilities Commission, you know, who is charged with reviewing YB rate increases and has their financial records, denied YB's requests for a water carrier inflationary cost index, which we call the wiki here, and in the 2029 rate increase after that was approved, and prohibited rate increases for 2 years. We agree with their position and believe this bill undermines their authorities. For that and many,
thank you very much.
We oppose this bill. Mahalo for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's all the those are all the testifiers that signed up to testify. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure? Okay, in total we had 22 testifiers in support, 16 in opposition, and 7 offering comments. Members, questions?
Quick question.
Senator McKelvey.
Mr. Veltri, is he still around? Yes, still around. I'm thrilled about this one. So under this bill, just to dumb it down for everybody out there, basically, if this bill were to pass, it would limit you to this 5% per year of a rate increase.
That would be the upper limit for every first and second year. So the way that the system works, it's a 3-year cycle. So the Water Carrier Working Group put this in place as guardrails to prevent, you know, situations with runaway rate increases. So in years 1 and 2 of the cycle, it would be a wharfage indexed inflation increase. So the way wharfage works right now, and I'm sorry, I know DOT is on the internet over here and said they can answer questions about wharfage, but essentially wharfage rates are charged to harbor users every time that they use the facilities, so they're the same customers, and it would be capped at 5%. Wharfage rates can actually go higher than 5%, but this tie to wharfage rates would be capped at 5%, and they could be as low as 3%. So that would be for years 1 and 2, and then in the 3rd year, it would just be a regular old rate case, whether we want to or not. So that means that if the PUC would do a full review of our complete rate structure, like they normally do in a rate case, and that means that it could go up, it could go down. It's just a full ground up rate review, and could be based on, it could be a rate increase, it could be a rate decrease based on, you know, inflationary adjustments that were too high. It could go either way. It would be up to the PUC on that.
So the first 5% is tied to the wharfage
Yeah, first two capped at 5%.
Capped
So
at
they could be
5%.
it could be between 3 to 5%.
3 to 5, but
And it would be once a year, and you would find out way in advance. Like I was saying, for 2026, we know that the wharfage rate increase is going to be 3.9% on July 1st. Today, we know that today because the DOT already announced.
But the wharfage rates are set on things that are basically, I guess, in its own universe, right? It's not determined on outside factors.
It's tied to, I believe it's tied to CPI, and then it's Honolulu Index CPI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, thank you for helping walk me through this, because I think there's something to be said potentially about the measure, because, I mean, oil's gonna be $180 to $200 a barrel. Probably will be that way unless this thing miraculously ends in April 1st for the rest of the year. I'm looking at this now, perhaps that this might provide some stability, protection to consumers, because what you guys could be coming into could be quite dramatically higher, right?
Well, can I clarify on that? I know
Yeah.
this is kind of, I would love to just go along with that logic, but there's already an automatic adjustment in place for fuel surcharges that is incorporated into our rates currently. It's not a pure pass-through, but it does pass through a lot of the costs of rising or lowering fuel costs to customers.
Okay, well, that's actually really important clarification. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Can't support the bill anymore.
Members, questions?
Yeah, I just want to say that with the task force that was in place several years ago, with the resolution that we, the legislature, asked for this process.
Yep.
And so I want to just thank those that were active at that time. It was a large task force. And, you know, just to add that all the counties were involved. We had financial activities with the members that were present. We'd like to thank PUC as well for its contribution, but we're so happy that finally with this WICI's proposal that you all had come to what had been established during that time. So just to thank those, because otherwise we would not have been here, and then Young Brothers would have been on their own, wanting to hang in there for our neighbor island, this, you know, transportation system. And we just want to say that for all of you, thanks for allowing us to do that task for several years ago. And thank you, Chair, for hearing this
Any
measure.
other questions, members? Okay, brief recess. Thank you. Okay, reconvening on the 9:50 a.m. agenda, House Bill 2386, House Draft 2. The recommendation is to pass this measure with amendments, adopting the Senate position in Senate Bill 2694, Senate Draft 2, which was heard previously and has crossed over into the House. We'll adopt the PUC's proposed amendments, and we will include the sunset provision of 7 years that we included in the Senate version. And there's already a defective effective date on this measure. So those are the recommendations. Members, any discussion?
Chair?
Yes.
If I may, appreciate the changes going back to the Senate position, sunset, as well as the inclusion of the PUC language. However, I still have a lot of concerns with the measure. We'll be going with reservations now. Make my final determination when it comes to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, so noted. Any other? Senator Elefante.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I appreciate the suggested amendments that you do have. I do feel it makes it better. However, I share the same concerns as the senator from Lahaina, and so I'll be voting with reservations.
Thank you. So noted. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair. Passing with amendments, Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes aye. Senator Lamasau.
Aye.
Senator McKelvey.
Reservations?
Senator Awa.
Aye.
Thank you. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, for the Committee on Transportation, same recommendation is to pass HB 2386 House Draft 2 with amendments. Any discussions for the Committee on Transportation? Okay, hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
Chair's recommendation is to pass House Bill 2386, House Draft 2 with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye with reservations. Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Lee is excused. Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Madam Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Calling the joint hearing for HHS-CPN, Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Convened here at room 229. Present with me is Majority Leader Senator Kanuha, my co-chair, Senator McKelvey. My other co-chair for the joint CPN meeting is Senator Keokalole, Senator Fukunaga, Vice Chair of CPN, and Senator Lamasal, also CPN. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business later at 1:44 p.m. today, March 25, in room 225. And the public notice will be posted on the legislator's website to facilitate this hearing in a timely manner. We will be enforcing a 1 minute, not two, for CPN, 1 minute for HHS, limit on testimony. I will be reading a list of individuals who submitted written testimony for each measure. We apologize if the closed captioning does not accurately transcribe the names. If you're interested in viewing the written testimony, please go to the legislator's website. You'll find a link on the status page for the measure. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that committee does have your testimony, that we review them. So I encourage you to use your time wisely to either add additional comments or stand on your written testimony. First up, SCR 50, and what is the SR number of this one? 49, and SR 49, establishing the Hawaii Health Plan Working Group to design and recommend a basic affordable Hawaii health plan available to every resident in the state. First up, we have, State of Hawaii, DLIR, providing comments. Okay, next we have SHPTA in support.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs. I'll use 45 seconds of my minute. I was here as Director of Health when we did the State Health Improvement Plan in 1989, 1990. It eventually reached 40,000 people. It was a very inexpensive program. We're considering uninsured today, and we're gonna have to figure out how to do this. This kind of a program would be probably 20% of the cost of full coverage. We have to do it carefully so as not to in any way interfere with the Prepaid Healthcare Act. We also have to make sure that anybody who's eligible for other coverage gets that other coverage, including MedQuest coverage. But if we did provide MedQuest coverage at probably $5,000 a head for the uninsured, it would be very, very prohibitively expensive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have LRB providing comments, Legislative Reference Bureau. Next, we have Aloha Project in strong support. Next, we have Aloha Independent Living Hawaii in support of the intent. Next, we have HPCA in support and offering a friendly amendment. It's Eric Abe. Next, we have HMSA providing comments. Thank you. Leimomi Khan in support. Johnny May Perry providing comments. And we have Teresa Armbruster in opposition. Anybody else wishing to testify on SCR 50, SR 49? Members, any questions? Okay, the only question I have is for SHPTA. Did you see HPCA's proposed amendments to add in more people to the working group? And
Thank you for the question, Chair. I I think MedQuest and DLIR should definitely be there, and we have no objection to having the Primary Care Association, because the FQHCs would be an important part of the process. So no opposition to that at all from our vantage point.
Okay, thank you very much. MedQuest and DLIR. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, members? Seeing none, are we ready to proceed with decision-making? Okay, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. We are going to accept HPCA's proposed amendment to add in MedQuest, DLIR, member representative of Healthcare Association of Hawaii, and a representative of Hawaii Primary Care Association. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Okay, recommendation on SCR 50, SR 49 is a Senate Draft 1, noting the presence of all members except for Senator Favela. Are there any WRs or noes? Seeing none, recommendation on both resolutions has been adopted.
For CPN, same recommendation. Any discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the CPN members present, are there any reservations or objections? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted, noting the absence or excused absence of Senator Awa.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned for
Okay, convening this Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, 10:01 a.m. CPN agenda in conference room 229 at the Hawaii State Capitol. First up, we have SCR 118, SR 111, urging the Insurance Division of the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs and the Department of the Attorney General to convene a working group to identify feasible options and mechanisms to protect the state and its residents against the effects of climate change on the availability and affordability of insurance. First up, we have Leah Laramie, Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Commission, in support. Thank you very much. DCCA Insurance Division with comments online.
Thank you,
Good
Chair.
morning.
The Insurance Division will stand on its written comments.
Thank you very much. Kayla Economou for Polluters Pay Hawaii Coalition in support online.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And Johnny May Perry offering comments. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this resolution? Members, questions? Okay, if not, we'll move to the next set of resolutions. SCR 166 and SR 157, requesting the PUC to ensure that certain conditions are met before approving any infrastructure operations, maintenance, fuel, or other costs relating to supplying and using liquefied natural gas. First up, we have the Hawaii State Energy Office with comments. Thank you very much. Division of Consumer Advocacy, Mr. Angelo.
Chair, Vice Chair, stand on our testimony, providing comments, available for questions.
Thank you very much. Earth Justice with comments online. Good morning.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Good morning. Harley Burrows on behalf of Earth Justice. We appreciate the effort to set baseline conditions to protect Hawaii consumers from the burdens and risks of LNG through this resolution. However, fundamentally, we should not have to waste our valuable time or money on this LNG venture. I'm sure you've heard about the consequences of LNG through, the media and all of that that's going on as of current, and how what the consequences would be for Hawaii. Prolonging our fossil fuel dependence, endangering our INA and another rail type infrastructure situation, one that is irreversible and comes with a high cost commitment. And after HSEL's billion-dollar boondoggle that came to the surface at the recent information hearing held by the House Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection, it is clear that there's no cost scenario where LNG works. I think that JERA's written testimony submitted in opposition to this community first resolution sets the tone for what we can expect from them should LNG ever happen here. The progress of LNG in our state prioritized over the cost savings and safety of Hawaii consumers. And we must do everything we can to put Hawaii consumers at the forefront when it comes to our energy future. Mahalo nui.
Thank you very much. We have Chris Caulfield from the OMU Alliance offering testimony in support, Eric Montague for JERA Americas in opposition, and Johnny May Perry in opposition. Is there anyone else? Oh, PUC. What, did I just skip you guys? I just skipped the PUC. Please come up. Good morning.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Anand Samtani, PUC, we stand on the written testimonies bill for questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to testify? That's why you gotta check. Any questions, members? Okay, seeing none, unless there are objections, I'm gonna go into decision making.
Right into it.
Okay, so the recommendation on the first set of resolutions, SCR 118 and SR 111, is to pass with amendments, adding the proposed language requested, adding language to request that the working group work with the Hawaii Office of Recovery and Resiliency to conduct the assessment of insurance exposure for the state and its residents, and to request, instead of a report, that the working group share its findings and recommendations with the respective Commerce and Consumer Protection Committees. Any discussion, members? Any questions? Okay, then the recommendation is to pass with amendments, and the chair votes aye.
Thank you. Of the CPN members present, are there any voting with reservations or objections? Hearing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. And the last resolution is SCR 166, SR 157. The recommendation is to defer this measure, defer action on this measure to Thursday, April 2nd at 9:30 a.m. in conference room 229. It's not our intent to weigh in on the PUC's process per se, especially given the attempt for the State Energy Office to weigh into the process earlier last week. But the legislature, hopefully we can work out some language to allow the legislature to speak on just ensuring that if we are going to make a generational commitment on energy, like LNG, that any decision made by the PUC is based off of sound decision-making, evidence-based approaches, and that there's a transparent process. So again, without objection, the recommendation is to defer action on this measure to next week. And thank you very much. We're adjourned.